Life in the 60s in Saddar, Karachi by Nafisa Tapal. This is what it was like as a child in Sadr town and living next to the tram tracks. I looked out the window of the old wooden building that shook and swung back and forth every time a tram passed by. The fire temple, Parsi Agyari, was across the street, and every morning well dressed Parsi women and men came for their prayers. I was not well and had to stay at home. I could tell the time by looking at the outside world. The empty tram was swinging and dancing on the track. The smell of frying jalebi was coming from the nearby shop that is famous for its sweets. The owner was called Pujji, which means soft, due to the softness of his gulab jamans. People were buying big and small jalebis, and the juice of the sweets was dripping from the brown paper bags. The sweeper sweeping the road and scrubbing the horse dung from the street created the sound of grinding the stone on the ground. Men came out of the mosque after morning prayers. When I became unwell, I saw life in a different stroke, which has been intact since then. Even though the doctor was not very hopeful, my inner self pushed me to struggle and force myself to live life in its every turn. At midday, the street changed into a chaotic one. Fruit vendors from all over the city came to this area but constantly play hide and seek with the policemen that lurk in the nearby lane. The bus, the rickshaw, the cycle, and the Victoria Wala have parked their vehicles haphazardly just to outdo each other and be able to get to the passengers first. As the sun moved directly overhead, I could smell the freshly baked bread from the bakery next door. The famous Adam Summer. This meant it was noon and people were coming to buy bread from the bakery and returning to their homes for lunch. As the afternoon changed into evening, the atmosphere changed again and I could see lots of women on the street. The Goans with their western style of dress and short hair were out to buy things from Bori Bazaar. The Bora ladies wearing saris were out as well to do their chores, and the Parsis were coming out of the temple and would buy cakes and freshly baked biscuits from the small bakery. Anjarwala. The Bori Bazaar was the main shopping area for all sorts of clothes, just like the nearby Elphinstone Street area where people used to park their cars and navigate on foot the narrow lanes of the Bori Bazaar. Victorias were available for hire for an evening out at the famous Faraday Hall garden, which was the center for all activities. Dignitaries used to come to the venue for ziyafat dinner parties, while this place was also known for its horticulture shows and Eid prayers too. Everyone heard call for the evening prayer, which was called out from the Maiman Masjid. There was no other competition for the azan then. People would run to the mosque for prayers, not for any other purpose like tabligh, etc. No one else was residing there, except for a few dedicated people who would maintain the place and keep it clean. Masjid goers would make small contributions for maintenances. Religious people had so much dignity that they never asked for any money. All the lights were turned on now, and strange looking women dressed in black were walking on the street. While everyone else was preparing to go back home, packing up their push carts that were parked on the road, the burqa clad women were talking to different men on the road, and I never understood why these ladies were out while everyone else was going home. I asked my dadi why they were not going home and why they were dressed like this, but I never got any answer. The tram passed by again, swinging on the tracks, carrying a few passengers. The tram would come to a halt by 9:30 p.m. and the whole city would become quiet by 10:30. Then it would change into a lonely street. My heart sank as the number of people on the street diminished, and as my pain returned. I took my medicine, which made me weaker, and the drowsiness made my eyelids heavy. I felt my mom's hand on my forehead, and the sound of her recitation put me to sleep.